Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Region Buzz's very first session for Freakin Friday music. Today's special guest, my name is Nicholas Kazonis, by the way, owner as well as a musician here at Region Buzz 219. And our very first guest is Jordan Ryan Miller from Maryville, Indiana, correct?
Correct, yeah.
All right, so right here from the region, everybody. I wanted to, he's been on our Boulevard session twice now, I believe.
Yeah, twice, and I did a couple streams as well.
Very cool, yeah, a couple streams as well. So we're really excited to have him and be a part of our new series where we just kind of sit down, talk about music, and why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been playing music of some sort since I was about 13, 14 years old. Got into to punk rock music real hard when I was about that age, you know. As you do, you're trying to find an outlet for like, why am I so frustrated and angry all the time and I can't find out why? And, you know, like Green Day's American Idiot album was that album for me that like I wanted to be Billy Joe Armstrong.
Okay.
You know, like that was like my end goal. So I had like the low strung guitars and, you know, it's just power chords and, you know, one day hoping to get a Marshall, you know, Super Lead 100 or something like that, just to get that sound. That was always the goal. So I started there, and you know, obviously once you open one music door, they point to other doors, which you know, within punk rock, pointed you in the direction of like reggae, ska music, you know, and then you know, folk music ended up kind of coming in as well.
Okay.
So I started when I was probably like late high school. I started getting like really into like Bob Dylan and Woody Guthrie, you know, sort of that more
Obviously
protesty,
incredibly influential artists.
right?
Yeah.
You know, kind of looking for, you know, I mean, it was again that sort of like the rebellious sort of protesty songs a little bit.
So was the message more, I think, is what brought you to it, or was it the music, or was it a combination of both?
It was a combination of both because I think that like that sort of like draw that I had towards like acoustic based music kind of came from my upbringing as well. I was my grandparents watched me a lot when I was a kid because both my parents worked, and you know, I can remember going to like, you know, army surplus stores with like my grandpa. And we'd be listening to in his you know, red Ford Ranger. I can remember that so viscerally. It
With the
like
Werther's candy in the middle of the...
Right, yeah. It looked like a strawberry on the inside. It was crazy. I loved that truck. And we would listen to stuff like Johnny Cash, you know, Hank Williams. You'd listen to, you know, just John Prine. That was where the first time I started hearing stuff by John Prine.
Yeah, rest in peace over COVID.
Right, yeah.
I actually lost my favorite songwriter over COVID.
Seriously?
It wasn't COVID related, but Bill Withers.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's right.
He had some complications with his health, and you know, wasn't able to make it through. So you know.
Right, yeah. I mean, I remember exactly where I was when John Prine died. Like, there was a storm rolling through that night.
I remember you went online and you actually like talked about his influence with you, and that was like one of the main things where I was like, wow, this is like, I never really listened to John Prine before. And then I was like, man, all these artists around me are like saying this is a guy that I need to sit down and listen to.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, all right. So I'm like completely new.
Right.
To his influence, but what incredible songwriter.
Oh yeah, I mean, he could paint a picture with like the most simple words. Like, I feel like sometimes, like especially like I kind of do it, like where I try to reach for like the biggest words that I can to try to sound smart.
Yeah.
And try to like make the listener go like, I wonder what that word means. I should look it up. Like, who's going to do that?
Yeah, it's hard. It's
yeah.
hard enough in today's you know, a day of TikTok and reels,
right?
15 to 30 second, you know, to make someone look and work for something.
Right, and then I write 5-minute songs. And when I was thinking about that the other day, I was like, every song I have is so long. Like, even if there's not a lot of words, but I felt like John like could really write like a simple song, like I did that song, the reference which you're referencing is a song called Paradise, which is actually like about Muhlenberg, Kentucky, which is where my grandparents are from.
Okay.
So that has like another even deeper connection. But yeah, it was that kind of stuff that like I think sort of started the that love for like acoustic type music, and sort of like was kind of an easier sort of welcoming in for like listening to folk music and listening to all that stuff from like, you know, like the 40s and then the 60s. And, you know, I had that background in there. And
Very
then
cool.
To go in almost a completely different direction, I started playing worship music. in my parents' church. I played for about 7 years.
Wow.
And that was probably the biggest musical education I received.
Okay.
The worship leader over there, a guy named Rich Wall, he's not there anymore. He still a guy that I'm incredibly close with. Is one of my biggest music mentors because when I got there, he took me under his wing and was like, "You got something to what you're doing here,
That's
and I
incredible.
can
That's
further
awesome.
mold it."
That's awesome.
And so, because going into it, I knew that what chords worked and what didn't.
Yeah.
I just didn't know why. I had zero music theory knowledge, and I didn't want to because I didn't feel like that was punk. It's not punk rock to know what the names of the chords. I knew what they
It's
were.
a weird thing about that. Like, oh yeah, he doesn't read music, so he's cool or something. It's really bizarre to me.
It's like a DIY thing. Like I did it myself, my way. I didn't have to follow, and I can't read sheet music, so I'm that person a little bit.
But you said you understand basic theory.
Yeah,
right?
I understand basic theory. So because I kind of communicate through the numbers and stuff like that. If I know we're in A,
Nashville
then
system.
right?
1,
Yeah,
5, 4,
that's
yeah.
what we were brought up on.
By the way, you have a song that we're going to play today that has a 4 minor 4, and that is my favorite. That is my favorite thing. Anybody that knows music from my Seasons record, it's like my favorite chord, to 4 minor 4. Like I always do the 4 minor 4.
Absolutely, I feel the same way. There's a song by an artist named Gregory Alan Isakov, and it starts off with that 4 minor. It's such a great sort of step down. I love it.
Yeah.
It's kind of emotional. It's a little bit sort of kind of melancholy sounding, but it's not sad.
It's not sad.
No,
but
it's just, it kind of evokes this weird sort of like it's introspective or something. Yeah.
I got a feeling.
Right.
Let's
I
play
don't
that
know.
one.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
Let's play
Absolutely,
that one.
yeah.
Which key are we in this one?
We are in F on this.
F on this one. Okay.
Yeah, this is in F. I gotta get a harmonica.
And we this, by the way, everybody, this is it's meant to be kind of just a chill, social distance, relaxed couch session. Usually I invite musicians over, but given with COVID, it was kind of a weird thing, and I didn't really know how to approach it. So I was like, well, let's do a series. Let's do a Friday night series where I bring in a different songwriter every week from the region, and then even artists from outside of the region. And what we do is it's kind of like our couch sessions. We're just sitting here just talking music like we would do if we were sitting around a house and doing that kind of thing. So I wanted you guys to be a part of that process and get to see what it's like. And we literally just played this, once through before you got here. And this is what it is. It's just meant to just kind of be a fun thing. So I hope you guys enjoy it. What's the name of this one?
This one is called Sleep Through the Night. See the shadows painted on these darkened walls. And the fan just is spinning with its creaks and bones and all. The time is just passing. Rest is lacking, and I just wait for you. For my lack of sleep, I've been counting these sheep. Try as I might, can't sleep through the night, so lie here awake until the day breaks, and I'll try it all over again. white reflection from the mirror, it bounces off like a spectral apparition. My bedroom, this ghost haunt. And I sit here and wonder, mind torn asunder, and I just wait for you. For my life, sleep, I've been counting these sheep. Try as I might, can't sleep through the night, so lie here awake until the day breaks, and I'll try it all over again. For my lack of sleep, I've been counting these sheep. Try as I might, I can't sleep through the night, so lie here awake until the day breaks, and I'll try it all over again. For my lack of sleep, I've been counting these sheep. But try as I might, can't sleep through the night, so I'll lie here awake until the day breaks, and I'll try it all over again. And I'll try it all over again. Yes, I'll try it all over again.
Yeah, man.
Right on.
Cool tune. I love that one.
Thank you.
You did a Boulevard session at the beginning of 2020 with that one, I believe.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes, it's kind of gone through some changes since then. It's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
an ever-evolving song. Like, I have a weird version at home that I did with like just keyboards and stuff, and it's really bizarre. But like, you know, it holds to like the nature of the song, I feel.
Yeah.
Without being like acoustic and like harmonica driven. But with this type of situation, it's exactly the way like I want it to sound.
Yeah. It feels good. It feels good. I love the hook. Can you talk to us a little bit about like some of where you got some of like the concepts of where the song came from and stuff like that?
Yeah. So this is probably, of the songs that I'm playing tonight, the oldest one. And you know, kind of like, you know, taking off of what the song is sort of about, which is about sleeplessness. I'm a bit of an insomniac.
Amen.
And, yeah. Aren't we all?
Any real musician is.
You know, it's, you know, I'm the person who wakes up at 3 a.m. and has this like idea, like, oh my God, I got to get it written down and recorded real quick, which is, you know, a blessing and a curse, I guess. But, you know, the idea of it was kind of like, you know, I started writing it actually at work. Like I had that chorus was what came first, that hook, that, you know, for my lack of sleep, I've been counting these sheep. Try as I might, I can't sleep through the night. Like those words just started coming when I was real slow, And like the kind of like blessing of being at a library is I have pens and paper around me all the time.
Yeah.
So, and this was like before, like pre-COVID and stuff. So like I just was like, like trying to think of stuff, and I was like, because I wanted to go home and start writing, and those words just started coming. That hook came in, and kind of sort of referencing that sort of sleeplessness, and also at the same time, it's kind of a bit of like a love/love lost type
Yeah,
song.
it's got kind of a double entendre to it.
Right. Yeah.
I really dig that about that. And it's funny you say that, because one thing that caught me lyrically about this song is that line, counting these sheep. So it's like, okay, what are you up at night thinking about that you're counting, that you have this sleeplessness.
Exactly.
And it reminds me of Bill Withers' song, Your Love is Like a Chunk of Gold, Hard to Gain and Hard to Hold.
Oh yeah.
And it's got that same kind of, you've got that same kind of quality to it, to where it's like,
right. It makes you kind
of, I need to continue listening to know what this is about.
Right. It makes you kind of like, what is he talking about? What is going on? And that's exactly what
it's like the epitome of a hook, right?
Right.
It's like the hook. So cool. That was a great tune. Let's go ahead and talk about the next tune, Saccharin.
Okay. Yeah. So this is actually the newest one that I've written. I was it was at a point in time where I was really listening to a lot of like this sort of lo-fi, folky type stuff, sort of like older Bon Iver and that type of thing, where it's really discordant and very like simple chords. And I was like, I want to write songs like that too. Like instead of just using the the standard cowboy chords or whatever that's easy, I was like, I just kind of want to like do like weird sounding ones, simple ones, taking away parts of the chord, dissecting them, and figuring out how to make it sound simple and weird.
Yeah, that's a very jazz technique, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that was like kind of like the process. I was kind of doing stuff like that, just trying to play stuff that sounded similar to that very lo-fi, folky sound, indie folk, whatever you want to call it.
Is that kind of what you would say you're in the realm of?
I would say, yeah. Like, I mean, like, like I feel like
generalizing.
Yeah, like indie folk is sort of like a catch-all term. I feel like nowadays, which is what it's used for. But like, because I mean, like anything can almost be indie folk as long as it has like a guitar and like a person singing, usually sad songs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that I would fall within that like indie folk sort of genre, sort of singer-songwriter.
Now, would you say that your first album is kind of the one you released in 2019? Would you say that it's kind of in that same realm, or are you kind of cultivating it in new areas?
Radio Waves, no, it was very much sort of evocative of the same indie folk sound. I took some liberties in some different directions, and kind of try to add some bits that weren't really normal within that sort of genre. Like there's a song with a guitar solo in it, and that's very rare in that genre these days.
Yeah, I would be out of a job, by the way, in this genre.
I was never into playing lead guitar.
Yeah.
It was never an interest of mine. Like I always, like, again, I guess coming from like the punk rock thing and playing chords and idolizing rhythm guitar players, like I was like, I want to learn the chords. I want to know the chords. And like I can play lead, but it's much more natural for me to do the chords. I love, like, they're my favorite thing about guitar chords, like, because there's an endless array of combinations and things you can do.
I try telling my I do private lessons and things like that.
Right.
I tell my students all the time, like, they're like, oh, how many chords are there? And I'm like, that's not a valid question.
It's like a billion.
That's not a valid question.
You can play C in 20 different ways.
So, but yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
so with this one, it was kind of taking from that idea of like how to strip down a chord and then be able to play with those open strings without changing the tuning. Because I know a lot of people change the tunings, and I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I'm playing live, that's a pain. I don't want to bring two guitars. I'm lazy that way.
Innovative. We call it innovative.
Yeah, there you go. That's a better term.
Unique.
It's a more positive term for it. Yeah, so this one kind of came from that, me playing around with that, and I was reading some sort of like I don't know, it was like an article or a short story or something, and there was a word, it was the word saccharin. And I knew what the word meant. It's like, excessively sweet. Mm-hmm. And I liked the word, and I was, but it wasn't used in the way that it should normally be used. It wasn't used to describe something sweet in that article. It's used to like describe something sentimental. And so and I was like, that's weird. And I looked it up, and it's actually like a Webster's dictionary accepted definition of the word. It can also be used to describe something exceedingly sentimental or, valuable to your, like, nostalgia. So the song kind of started coming from that, about sort of like remembering these sort of great positive memories of, like, I guess like in a friendship or a relationship or whatever, and sort of, like, because every relationship that you've ever been in, there's always positives. You always think back like all the good things that we used to do
absolutely.
and go places, and like you can have a memory attached to a place, and so like the beginning of the song kind of talks about that and bringing up those positive memories, and there's the use of that word saccharine in a kind of another double entendre type of way, where it can be used in either direction, and it just depends on how you choose to listen to the song. And then you get to the chorus, and the chorus kind of takes you on a 90-degree turn. You're like, oh, we're going over here. Because it becomes more or less about, like, you're talking about the positive memories, and then you start remembering, like, okay, here's the reason why things ended. Here's what, no matter how, because you're always going to want to try to go back sometimes, and you got to think about, like, no, this is not right.
You have to kind of talk yourself out of that.
Right, exactly. And that's kind of what that sort of like the second, or like the chorus, if you want to call it that, and like the bridge section are kind of sort of evoking that other side of here's what happened, and here's the problems, and here's what we couldn't get through, and we're facing them now. And it's like the bridge talks about, like, tell me once again, my dear, we see each other's trembling hands. So it's like that last moment, like the breakup's coming or whatever. And just sort of like, take you in that to put you in the room, sort of with like the narrator, as it were, about what's happening and, their particular side of what's going on, that chorus, you cannot tell me anything, I won't hear it anymore. The words you spoke were once so sweet, but eating them is such a chore. Kind of plays into that again with saccharine, with sweetness. If you eat too many sweet things, you start feeling sick to your stomach. And that's kind of what it is. It's like you can say so many sweet things over and over again, but eventually I'm going to, at some point I'll learn. Yeah. And I'll know that it wasn't really what the truth actually was, or it's just a way to bring back. So it's kind of the direction of the song. It's a little bit unorthodox, but
I dig it. It was a new one for me to listen to when you sent it to me, and I was kind of just like reviewing them this week. I was like, well, I haven't heard this one before, and it's like I was like trying to dissect the lyrics while still trying to learn it for tonight, And I was just like, ooh, I want to ask him about like where it came from, and it's such a unique title.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think like my songwriting kind of pulls from like, real life experience and then like fictional stuff at the same time. I don't want it to be like a biography of my life, Yeah. So it can be like little tiny things about, things that I, can pull from memory or whatever. And then the rest of it's kind of like, okay, what if I were to make this like a story? Because I do like a lot of, like, in my free time, if I'm not songwriting, I'll do like a lot of like prose writing, just like writing like short stuff and like trying to create like, like describing like sunlight shining in through a window of a room or something like that. So, it's kind of like taking those different directions, trying to put them all together.
Yeah. But it's taking different looking glasses and putting them together as well.
Right, yeah. It's kind of having to look at it from like, I guess like, I always say like I write a lot with metaphors, or like trying to use metaphors to sort of veil what's being talked about so that like you can draw your own. Yeah, you can draw your own conclusion. Like a song might mean this to me, but you can pull something completely different.
Yeah, I've always envied people that write very literal, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so like
it's like it's as on the nose as one can be. Like I'm so indirect in my normal life as well that like it just sort of bleeds into the songwriting. I'm like, people are like, what are your songs about? I'm like, I don't know.
What does it mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, because sometimes they do start that way. Where like, like, well, what inspired you? And I'm like, I don't know. Just words were coming out, and I just wrote them down, and then I left it alone for 3 months and came back, and then it became a song.
That's an interesting point. When I was at Columbia in my songwriting course, I had Gary Yerkins was the main professor that was there teaching the course I was taking. Incredible, songwriter. And then also Nick Tremulous was a in there when Gary had to go for surgery for 6 weeks. And Nick talked about this moment where you don't know what the song's about, but you're just a vessel, you know? And it's like almost like you're a PVC pipe that just wakes up and the song is gifted to you.
Yeah.
And this song is gifted to you. Do you feel that this song was one of those instances where it was like gifted to you?
Kind of, yeah, because I mean it was like it was written in a night. Like in the span of probably about 2 or 3 hours I got this whole thing done with like, you know, putting stuff in, omitting stuff I didn't feel was necessary and kind of balancing it out. But like the main shell of that song took maybe 2 hours just to get done and be like, I'm happy with this enough to like cut it like a quick demo on my phone.
Yeah.
And it hasn't really changed much since then.
Isn't that interesting how that works?
Right, yeah. And whereas like other songs can take months. Like I'll like write a song and then I'll be like, oh, like the night I write it, I'm like, this is great. And then the next day I hate it.
Yeah.
And then I'll like just set it to the side and like let it sort of, because it's not ready to be like born, as it were. Like it needs to incubate longer.
Yeah, yeah.
Like so it's yeah, I mean, it's bizarre. Like sometimes songs can just come like that.
Yep.
And you're like, boom, done. 30 minutes.
I have songs that took me 4 years to finish.
Right.
Because I had to learn something from it.
Uh-huh.
And then I've had songs where I literally woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, sat down on my couch because I was like, this song is in my head and I can't. It like woke me up from my sleep. I sit there, I record it on my phone in 5 to 10 minutes, maybe 1 or 2 takes, and then I go back to bed because the song's done. It was written.
There's a relief.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, there's times where I've started writing a song and then I go to bed, and then on top of my insomnia is oh my God, I want to get this done. I have all these ideas in my head, and I just want to get it out, and you can't because you can't force it.
You can't ever force
like,
it.
You know, the
it
moment that you
feels forced when you try to.
Right. Yeah, and you can kind of tell like there's something like with like some older songs that I've written and like looking back on it, I'm trying to learn from or better what I was doing in them because there's a shell of something good. Like I look back and I go like, what were you thinking? Why were you forcing that lyric out? Like why were you trying to put that word in that song? It doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
You know, like I guess like that it's that less is more kind of thing. Like I don't want to use a lot of words sometimes. Like sometimes I really do. Sometimes I want to, you know, put a dissertation in the middle of the song. You know, and sometimes it's like, you know, like
cut out of this.
Right.
You know?
Like I have a song that's literally like just like 2 stanzas. There's no chorus. It's just 2 stanzas. It's like poetry.
Yeah.
And then that's all that song wanted. And then whereas there's other ones that have a lot, and they want so much from them. You know, but that's the whole thing.
We could talk for hours about it, but let's play it.
All right. Yeah. This is Saccharine. I breathe you in and I breathe you out, in and out, in and out. The air around us smells so sweet, like saccharine, like saccharine. Remember when we watched the stars all around, all around. Thought I saw a UFO. You told me I was wrong. It was worth a shot. It was worth a shot. We took your car, mine wouldn't get that far. That beat up car still hums along, and we made pretend that this was our home all alone. Tell me once again, my dear, we see each other's trembling hands. There's something to the question of what it was that we ever had. Tell me once again, my dear, we see each other's trembling hands. There's something to the question of what it was that we ever had. There's something to the question of what it was that we ever had. Something to the question of what it was that we ever had. There's something to the question of what it was that we ever had. There's something to the question of what it was that we ever had. Tell me anything, I won't hear it anymore. The words you spoke were once so sweet, but eating them is such a chore.
Yeah. Cool tune, man.
Thank you.
I dig it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So this next tune is our last tune for the evening. I'd like to maybe talk about that, but before we do, what are some other interests you have? I know you mentioned earlier you'd like photography and that sort of thing too.
Yeah. So last year I ended up like really investing in like a good camera and like going out and like going to by the beach during the winter because I'm weird. I go up by the to the shorelines and stuff and to the.
Did your beard freeze and stuff?
No, if it's raining or snowing, yeah a little bit. But yeah, like I like going up there and just sort of like trying to take like sort of scenic pictures of things. I love taking like pictures of like trees, especially kind of going through the seasons and stuff. And that also kind of bled into another interest which I have, which I've started getting into, which is gardening. Picked that up during the COVID lockdown, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Because like my grandmother is a garden. She gardens, and I kind of just like had her teach me different things. And I planted a bunch of sunflowers last year, and I was like, they were like my children. I cared about them. I was like making sure they had enough water, and chasing off the pests.
You know what's funny about that is a few years ago I tried to start a garden and I epically failed. But I did really good for like 3 weeks.
Uh-huh.
I did really, really well. And they were growing like the plants I had from seedlings. I started them from seedlings, and they were growing really, really well. And I was asking my sister, who's like an avid gardener and like really, really knows her stuff. And she was like, oh, if the environment is conducive to like if you're playing music or like positive affirmations and things, the plants grow and survive much more vividly. Like they just live better and they're healthier and that sort of thing. And I always thought that's so interesting because it's such a metaphor for how I look at art and like how I look at if I'm vibrating or if I'm in the right consciousness or the right mindset when I write something, the music tends to be just that much more stronger because I'm looking at it through not just if the song is making me happy or if the song is making me sad. It allows me to then look at it objectively and subjectively. So Just that, just
No,
curious,
that makes a lot of sense because like even sort of playing further into that, like because I definitely did 100% go out there and play songs because it was beautiful outside. I had nothing to do, so I'm just out there
it's
playing.
COVID. What else are you gonna do?
Playing folk songs for my little sonnies, and they got big, man. I was like, we didn't even think they're gonna grow, like at all, and then they ended up like getting pretty darn big. That was pretty exciting. But yeah, I mean, like you talked about that sort of like that positive mind state and that sort of that mindset of like I do a lot of sort of like mindfulness and like I guess you would call it like transcendental meditation, but without the transcendental portion. Like I don't try to like transport myself mentally to a different dimension. I just try to to focus myself because I have like just being honest, I deal with a lot of anxiety and depression. Mm-hmm. I mean, especially now. And that helps to sort of bring that down and to sort of recenter you and bring you into a reality where things aren't as bad. Like, it sucks, but things aren't that bad. Things are okay. You can find ways to sort of find that positive light, which is something, like I go in and out of it a lot. It's hard to get into a rhythm, but when I definitely do get to sit and sort of like, in the silence and sort of, meditate a little bit and think and try to bring myself into one, I can get a lot of good material from that as well, because it avails you to something that's like in your subconscious.
Oh, absolutely.
And like meditation can be really anything,
Meditation can be anything, absolutely.
Like it can be prayer, it can be, just being alone and thinking,
Yeah,
just try. It's like a pure, like trying to release yourself of everything around you, all the stimuli.
Absolutely.
And bring you into like the center of yourself.
What meditation has been to me is some of that, but it's also been because I actually practice meditation every day as well.
Okay.
I've been doing it for 4 years now.
Oh,
on top of my daily prayers. Myself, I'm an Orthodox Christian, and so I have that aspect of things. But what meditation did was it really allowed me the opportunity to think consciously and prospectively of something outside and get to understand things that I never was really necessarily exposed to. And it really allotted me the opportunity to face myself in saying that what is happening, I don't always have to react to it in the way that I was, I don't want to say pre-programmed or whatever, but my tendencies, as you said, like you have tendencies for anxiety, so do I, heavily. And so what it does is it has allowed me the understanding through the years to say, it's okay to have this. It's a normal feeling. Everybody feels anxious. Some people just feel anxious more than others. But what it does is I've learned a technique to note it, to say, okay, this is here. This is why I feel the way I feel. But just as the thousands, if not millions of other times that I've felt anxious in this type of way, I'm actually able to note it and say, this is something that is an unhealthy situation in the way that I'm feeling about it, but I need to make sure that I am aware that it's not going to last forever and that it is just a temporary emotion. So I think it's really cool that you actually went into that, right?
Yeah, that's exactly the way that I kind of do it.
Yeah.
Too, is sort of, embracing the fact that the reality of things aren't great.
Yeah.
But understanding also that A, it could be much worse, and B, there's a way that you can do something to put yourself in a more positive state of mind instead of letting it just bog you down and bog you down and bog you down.
And through my faith, and then also through meditation, I've learned gratefulness.
Right.
I'm grateful that I learned things about myself through meditation and anxiety and all these emotions that I was going through, because now I have the ability to overcome them and talk to them and actually help relate to people.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we are so, in the way that I look at it, divinely just given a gift by being able to play music and connect with people. Most people don't have that gift.
Right.
And I think this is a really cool thing that we have been given because we can connect to people. So we've been talking about songs and things like that all night, and really it brings it back to that main point, right?
Right,
What we're doing is we're helping people connect, whether it be through just the song, or as far as being happy, sad, whatever, but you're connecting to people for some kind of greater message.
Right. Like the way I've always sort of like sought out artists and like found my favorite songwriters is through that ability for their lyrics to try to connect with me and to have some sort of personal message to go like, hey, I'm not the only person who deals with this and feels this way.
Yeah.
There's other people out there, which but it's nice to have that reminder that you aren't alone in feeling the way that you feel, and that there's millions upon millions of other people's right now that are feeling the exact same way. And and to round back on what you said about the music thing, I think that music is like, at least like you see it a lot, like there's a lot more nowadays of musicians who have a lot more empathy.
Yes.
You're starting to see where it's become less like it was 30, 40 years ago, which was about ego and about I'm better than everyone else and I'm going to bury everybody else in my dust.
Yes.
And I could care less. And but now, I mean, even in larger music communities are people who are supporting each other.
Yeah.
Who are like, we all understand the struggle. We understand how hard this can be.
Yeah.
And we want to love on you. We want to bring you in and let you know that you're valid. And I think that's what a lot of us are looking for is that validation that it's not just myself who thinks that I'm pretty good at this. There's other people too who also kind of dig what's going on.
Yeah, and I think that as humans, we are communal animals, right? We're communal beings.
Very social.
And so as much as we feel like we're antisocial, we actually realize that we need that. It's just that we don't necessarily know how to always handle that sometimes. And I think the fact that when you look at, like, historically speaking, you had very strict religion to like create that communal aspect of things, but now as we move into, I would say, society is moving into more of a secular kind of mindset.
For sure.
And
yeah.
so we're searching for that communal aspect of things that we necessarily have lost because we've gone into that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that music, art, photography, there's certain things in life that no matter what culture, no matter what religion you are, you can still find common human ground. The glue is going to be food, dance, and music.
Yeah.
Those are like, what's your dance like? Oh, what's your music like?
Right.
And those are the things that we kind of put the glue together to help us come together. And
Absolutely.
I think that you really have reflected that. That was really cool. Yeah. So let's talk about this next song.
Okay.
As far as you mentioned that you really wanted to kind of talk a little bit about this one. So let's hear about it.
This kind of there's a lot of sort of like little things about it. Like you kind of like notice there's the is that, and then it's absolutely 100% stealing from, as I mentioned earlier, Bob Dylan. It's a very Bob Dylan kind of in there, but with a different rhythm. So I stole that because I was playing, before I wrote this, I was playing Mr. Tambourine Man. It's just a little weird insight into how songwriting works sometimes. The rest of the song is nothing like it. But I kind of wrote it about, like, the exploring of, like, again, like, I guess, like, sort of like an end of like a moment of a relationship or something, from this one-sided perspective of not really like being kind of sad that it's over, but at the same time being like, oh, I don't really want to change anything. I don't feel like there's something about myself that needs to be changed, or I'm not willing to do so right now. So it's not really like a song about a hero. It's kind of a song about somebody sort of being stuck in their ways a bit and being unwilling to sort of root themselves out of where they are because they just would rather be here than change for something else or someone else, even if it's for the better or for the worse.
Comfort.
Yeah. It's about comfort and being unwilling to sort of step out of that comfort a little bit and being just sort of like, well, it's over, and which isn't great. But, it's sort of like, I think, like a bit of a weird perspective on that. Because usually when you write like a sad breakup song, it's like, it's all the other person and, all the things that they did wrong. And I kind of did a little bit, but this is like, no, this was on me. Mm-hmm. I wanted, I've been taking it with these sort of a little bit more uplifting melodies at times to sort of do a bit of a juxtaposition.
it's a very carnal process in the way that you're looking at it. It's like
Right.
very,
Yeah.
very
I'm trying to. I
human.
try to explore it in a different way, like than
Yeah.
just what the way it's gonna like the easiest manner. Like, what's the weird way of looking at this? What's the weird the way of like playing a breakup song and then kind of making like listening to it and going like, I don't know if I'm on this person's side or not. I don't know if I am.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of makes you question it a little bit. And the album that I'm working on right now, I'm working on like as of right now, it's like an 8-song thing I just started like really seriously working on. Like, my mindset is to have this be like that last song.
Okay.
Just sort of leave you off with that kind
You
of
kind of
like,
know.
whoa.
Isn't that interesting how typically in a lot of instances, not I won't say a lot of instances, but often it's like this is the first or the last song on the album.
Right, yeah. No, yeah, I have my first and my last one, and then it's everything in the middle.
And then it's
I know
okay,
exactly how I want it to
this
start.
one's a filler. This
Yeah.
one's.
This is how I want to start, and this is how I want to end, and I got to figure out the other 6 songs in between,
Yeah.
and how to build it the way that I want to build it.
Speaking of, where can people find your music?
Pretty much anywhere you can find it. I mean, I'm on Spotify. You can find me on iTunes, Apple Music.
And what would the tag be for that?
You could search just my name, Jordan Miller, Jordan Ryan Miller, either
Jordan
one.
Ryan Miller, okay.
Yeah, Jordan Ryan Miller is what I go by.
Okay.
But if you search just Jordan Miller, it works. Or Radio Waves is the name of my last EP that I put out, 4-song EP.
In 2019, correct?
January 5th, 2019 is when I was dropped.
Wow, almost 2 years just passed, right?
Yeah, just a little, almost 2 years.
Yeah, I was looking at my Facebook memories thing today, and 4 years ago I was recording my live DVD with my Nick Kazonis band.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my goodness, that was a long day. That was a long day because we traveled all the way out to South Bend, recorded 8 songs with the full 9-piece band, and then we traveled back. It was close to an 18-hour day.
Jeez.
But I love my guys, man. They stuck by my side and
Hey,
made
that's
it work.
what you want.
Yeah.
If you can find guys that are dedicated like
Yep. They were in it. They were in it to win it, and we had such a good thing. But yeah, let's
that.
play
Okay,
this
yeah,
one.
for sure.
Key of
Let's
E,
go right
right?
into it.
Key of E.
Yep. We are in E. Make sure that I'm in E. As a matter of fact, I am. Harmonicas are like the worst accessory because you just look like a fool.
When you start, it's like, yep, that ain't
And then
gonna
I just
work.
put it in. I just put it in backwards, so that's fantastic. Just make sure it's the right way. It is.
Cool.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
All right. Song's called "In Another Life." 3, 4. Well, I know that our time is drawing near, my dear. As our conclusion fast approaches, our head will remain clear. But if you keep me on your breath, well, I'll keep you in my mind, and we'll see each other in another life. As we land upon the final days we share, and I hope and pray you'll understand that I have always cared. But if you keep me on your breath, well, I'll keep you in my mind, and we'll see each other in another life. See my reflection in your eyes, while the sun reflects its light off the tears we both cried. But I believe that I will find a way to make you laugh and smile again someday, but not today. future planned together seemed built by some holy hands. Just as time would tell, it's washed away with the sands. But if you keep me on your breath, then I'll keep you in my mind. We see each other in another life. See my reflection in your eyes, while the sun reflects its light off the tears we both cried. Yeah, I believed that I would find a way to make you laugh and smile again someday. Yeah, baby, I believe that I would find a way to make you laugh and smile again someday, but not today.
Cool. Great tune, man.
Thank you.
Again, I want to say thank you so much for coming in tonight and being a part of the show and being our first one.
The launch,
nice
man.
And, yeah, the launch.
The
launch
pilot
of,
guy.
The launch of hopefully many to come, you know.
Yep. Well,
and obviously we'll have you back on.
Yeah, I would love to.
And again, one more time, let everybody know where they can find your music as well as social medias and that sort of thing so that we can get you some followers and hopefully we'll be able to share some stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can find me, like I said, anywhere that you sell or stream music. Just search for Jordan Ryan Miller or Jordan Miller if you don't want to type in that middle name. I get it. You can find me on, I'm mostly active on Instagram under Jordan Ryan Miller Music. And you can also find me on Facebook, Jordan Ryan Miller Music as well.
Okay, great.
And, looking to... get some more stuff going as we're getting out of this. Hopefully soon, eventually getting out of this situation out there. But
yeah,
trying, looking to do some more stuff in the future.
Great. Any big plans for 2021 as far as maybe an EP release or singles or something?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I've been working on an album. There's probably about 8-song album. Got a couple stuff that I am thinking about kind of putting out as just pure singles because they don't fit what I was going to do there, but I think that there's a lot of redeeming material in there, and I think they're great songs.
I think that the music industry in general is starting to move towards the singles even.
Yeah, I've seen that, and and it's a bit disheartening for me as
very
an
disheartening
album.
for people like you and I.
I'm a big lover of albums. Like when I listen to somebody, I listen to the album of them all the way through because I think there's something to be said about the way that they put it together.
Yeah.
There's a reason. At least I think so. When I do it, there is. But yeah, the industry's definitely going in the direction of, or back in the direction of singles like it was in, like the 50s and stuff.
Yep, the one-hit wonders.
Right.
Well, thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll see you again soon. Have a wonderful night. Stay safe, mask up, and we'll see you soon.